So we've talked about solving problems in class and just kind of working through it and seeing if your answer makes sense. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the rules of actually solving equations mathematically. And this is going to make a little more sense when we get into class and sort of put these into context. But I wanted to go through just some of the rules here and what it looks like when you actually solve an equation and doing it mathematically. So here's a couple examples. I'm just going to go through probably about 8 examples. I'm going to go pretty quick, and then I really want you to just kind of follow through, write these down. If there's any parts that I do that you get stuck on, you're not really sure what I do, maybe highlight that step and bring those questions to class, and I'll try to answer them for you. So the general idea is the first thing you want to do is you want to translate the sentence at first. Okay, so I'm going to look at this first one that says 8 or x plus 10 is equal to 24. Okay, so what I have here is I have x, which is some number. I don't know what it is. Okay, and then I'm going to add 10 to it. So I'm going to go up, right? So I have a number, and then I go up 10, and that's going to be equal to 24. So the general rule in like solving these equations, and one of the things you want to try to do first is you look to see what's actually happening, and then we're going to sort of go backwards from there. Okay, so in this run is I have a sum here, right? Well, I have a sum 24 after, and that's the answer to having added 2 problems, right? So I'm taking x and I add 10, and that gets me to 24. So I already actually know what the answer is. The answer is 24. Well, how did I get here? I got here by adding 10. Okay, so how can I figure out what this x is? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite my equation because I always want to leave one equation sort of like clean, not with something that I haven't messed with. Okay, so here I have x plus 10 is equal to 24. All right, well, I know that I went up 10 to get to 24. So that means that x is going to have to be equal to 24, okay, this, and then I'm going to have to subtract 10 or go back down, right? Because think about it. Let's say I'm in a building, I'm on some floor, I don't know what it is, but I go up 10 floors, right? And now I'm at 24th floor. So what floor was I on before that? Well, if I went back down 10 floors, that's what this is saying. If I was on 24 and went back down 10 floors, well, that would put me where I was to begin with, and now it's on the 14th floor. Okay, so in this case, 14 is my unknown. Okay, and this is solving the equation. All right, so if I take 14, right, and I take this answer and I put it back in for x, I substitute it back in. Okay, and I say 14. 14 does 14 plus 10. Does that equal 24? And it does, right? 24. All right, is equal to 24. I'm saying the same thing here. So let's take a look at another one here, and why don't you try doing this one? Why don't you think about what this is saying and pause the video and just give it a shot. See what happens. Go for it. All right. Well, first thing I'm going to do here is let's translate. Okay. So this is saying we're taking subtraction. Okay, I have this some number, and then I'm going to subtract 13, and that gets me equal to 5. So 5 is my answer, right? This is after I've done this thing here. Well, what did I do here? I started at a number, and then I went down 13, right? I started at some number, and then I went down 13. Okay, now I don't like to use subtraction, so I'm going to say, remember, if this is going down, then really what I'm saying is I have a number and I go down 13. And that's going to get me to 5. Okay. Well, how do I do that? Well, if I went down to 13 to get to 5, then to go back to where I was, I'm going to take 5 and I'm going to do the opposite. Instead of going down 13, I'm going to go up 13. Okay, so that means that y is, if I start at 5 and I go up 13, that's going to put me at 18. Okay, and then let's take our answer here, right? If our number is 18, and let's put it back in for here. And so I'm going to say 18 minus 13, and is that equal to 5? Well, if I take if I take 18 and I go down 13, I end up at 5, and that is equal to 5. My answer checks out. Okay. All right, let's try another one. All right, so I'll have first thing over there is I'm going to do is let's translate it. I have a number, minus 10. That's going to be equal to negative 6. Why don't you go ahead and retry it. Pause the video, you try it. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to rewrite this, except I'm going to say, okay, I have this number and I go down 10. It gets me to negative 6. So I have this number and I go down 10 and it gets me to negative 6. Okay, well, again, if I was here and I went down 10 and it got me to -6, then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say m is equal to -6. Notice I keep putting this thing first, right? And then instead of going down 10, I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to go up 10. So that means, okay, if I was at -6 and I went up 10, I'm going to end up at +4. All right, well, let's check this real quick. Now, again, we have -6 and +10. So what you can do here is you can do that sort of game trick I was showing you, right? If the other team scores 6 and you score 10, all right, that means I'm winning. I'm up by 4, right? So my answer would be +4. And we should see this when we plug in our answer, right? We're going to take it and we're going to put it in for m, and we're going to get 4 minus 10. Does that equal -6? Now notice I put it back into this one, the original one up here, not the one that I changed. Just in case I make a mistake somewhere in here, I don't want to do that. I want to put it in the very, very first one. This is why I don't want to touch it or make any changes to the original one. Okay, I want to rewrite it. All right, so if I do this, if I do 4 minus 10, okay, if I start at 4 and go down 10, that's going to take me to -6. Does that equal -6? Yes, it does. So my answer checks out. All right. Let's take a look at this next one. Let's go ahead and again, let's take a look at what's happening here. Okay, so I have 4, and I'm going to add some number, and then I'm going to add 11. All right. Well, I've got two things happening here, 4 and 11, and I'm going to put these together. These are like terms. 4 and 11 are like terms. So I'm going to take x, and I'm going to say if I go up 4 and I go up 11, that would be the same as going up 15. Okay. So I'm going to go up 15, and then I'm going to get me to 5. Okay, so again, here I'm at some number, and I go up 15, and it gets me to 5. All right, well, let's see. If I went up 15 and now I'm at 5, then I must have been 15 below 5. So that's going to tell me that I was at 5, and let's go back down 15. Okay, and now you should hopefully see that that's going to end in a negative number here because I'm going down more than where I am, right? If I'm at 5 and I go down 15, I'm going to end up at -10. And again, you can use that sort of game trick where I can say, okay, if I score 5 and the other team scores 15, then I'm down 10, right? So down 10. Okay, and if I take this and I say 4 plus -10 plus 11, does that equal 5? All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do all my like terms and put them together. So I'm going to get 4 and 11. That's going to give me 15. And I'm going to add that to -10 was equal to 5. Well, let's see, 15 plus a -10. If I'm at 15 and I go down 10, that gets me to 5. That's equal to 5. Okay. Now there's going to be some more that I'm going to do with multiplication and division, but I don't want to overthink this a little bit too much or really go too far. So let's stop here. We'll talk about it in class tomorrow. And please, please, please copy these down. Watch it again if you need to. Watch it a third time if you need to. And bring any questions that you don't really, any steps that you don't really understand. Please bring your questions to class. Okay. See you then.